The Cthar Dominion was feared across 3 spiral arms of the galaxy. Their reputation preceded them like a dark shadow, extinguishing hope in those unfortunate enough to see their warships appear in orbit. They were the ultimate predators, at least that's what they believed. Commander Forlag stood on the command deck of his flagship, the Claw of Dominance, staring down at the lush jungle moon of Xylos. His massive, armored form dwarfed the other Cthar around him. 7 feet tall, with a thick, muscular frame protected by natural subdermal armor plating, Forlag embodied the apex evolution of Cthar Prime, a high-gravity death trap of a world that had forged his species into living weapons. His amber eyes, adapted for hunting in the perpetual twilight of his homeworld, narrowed as he studied the tactical display. 6 raised scars ran in parallel lines across his face, a mark of distinction earned in the Voidstalker trial centuries ago. Cthar were long-lived, and Forlag had spent those centuries perfecting the art of conquest. Status report. He clicked, his mandibles clacking in the distinctive speech pattern of his kind. A pheromone release accompanied his words. Impatience, dominance, expectation. His executive officer, Grakthar, approached with appropriate deference, head slightly lowered to expose less of his throat. The native resistance has been eliminated, Commander. The atmosphere processors are operating at 70% capacity. Hunting grounds have been established in the Northern Hemisphere. The Xylan avians proved disappointing prey. Forlag clicked his displeasure. The subjugation of Xylos had been too easy. The native avian species possessed rudimentary technology at best. Simple dwellings, basic agriculture, and primitive projectile weapons that couldn't penetrate even the lightest Cthar armor. They had fled into the deepest parts of the jungle or surrendered outright. There had been no glory in this conquest, only administrative tedium. The real prize was the moon itself. Xylos orbited a massive gas giant rich in Tabana gas analogs and rare atmospheric isotopes, resources the Dominion required for their expansion. The Cthar didn't technically need the moon's surface. Orbital platforms could have extracted what they needed. But the Cthar never passed up an opportunity to establish new hunting grounds, and the lush jungles of Xylos offered exotic megafauna that would make excellent trophies. Commander, called the sensor officer, her voice pitched higher with a hint of confusion in her pheromone signature. We're detecting an atmospheric entry. Small vessel, minimal energy signature. Forlag's interest peaked immediately. Origin: unknown, Commander. The approach vector suggests it came from the outer system, possibly hidden behind the gas giant. Primitive propulsion system, barely above sublight capability. Assessment: Forlag demanded. The officer's mandibles clicked rapidly as she analyzed the data. Likely scavengers or refugees. Possibly survivors from one of the Xylan outposts we destroyed. The energy signature is consistent with outdated technology. Their stealth approach may have been luck rather than skill. They utilized the gas giant's radiation belt to mask their approach. A low, rumbling sound emerged from Forlag's chest, the Cthar equivalent of a chuckle. After weeks of bureaucratic monotony, the universe provides entertainment. His executive officer tensed. Should I dispatch a containment squadron? No. Forlag's decision was immediate. I will handle this personally. Grakthar's pheromones betrayed his surprise. Commander, protocol dictates. Protocol is for the timid. Forlag cut him off. I require stimulation, Grakthar. My hunting instincts grow dull with disuse. He turned to address the tactical officer. Prepare drop ship. I will lead a squad of 5 Voidstalkers. Select the most accomplished from my personal guard. The bridge crew exchanged glances, but knew better than to question further. Commander Forlag was not just their superior. He was one of the most decorated Voidstalkers in Cthar history. The elite warrior caste represented the pinnacle of Cthar society. Genetically selected from birth, subjected to brutal training that killed half the candidates, and enhanced through selective breeding programs over generations. They were masters of infiltration, ambush, and close-quarters combat. An hour later, Forlag stood in the dropship bay, inspecting his hunting party. Each Voidstalker wore the distinctive obsidian armor of their caste. Not powered exoskeletons like lesser species required, but lightweight composite materials designed to enhance their already formidable natural abilities. Their weapons were minimal but lethal. Molecular blades that could slice through virtually any material, plasma sidearms for ranged engagement, and sensory enhancement visors. The prey has landed in the equatorial region, Forelag informed them, projecting the coordinates to their neural interfaces. Dense jungle, unexplored territory. Local fauna is potentially hostile, atmospheric conditions unpredictable. Perfect hunting ground. The Void Stalkers acknowledged with silent nods. No enthusiasm, no unnecessary communication, just cold, predatory focus. This was why Forelag had selected them. They understood the sacred nature of the hunt. As their dropship descended through Xylos's atmosphere, Forelag felt a familiar thrill course through him. The hunt was the purest expression of Cthar identity. It was their divine right, as the apex predators of the galaxy, to test themselves against worthy adversaries. Though he doubted these intruders would provide much challenge, any hunt was better than none. The drop ship touched down 3 kilometers from the intruders' landing site, hidden beneath the dense jungle canopy. Forelag was the first to emerge, his senses immediately cataloging the environment. The air was thick with moisture, rich with organic compounds, ideal for tracking prey through scent. The jungle canopy filtered the harsh sunlight, creating a perpetual twilight similar to Cthar Prime, a hunting advantage. Fan out, standard tracking formation, Forelag ordered. Silence protocols. The squad dispersed into the jungle with practiced efficiency, each member keeping visual contact with at least one other while maintaining optimal coverage. They moved like ghosts, their naturally mottled skin providing camouflage even without their adaptive armor. Centuries of evolution as ambush predators made them practically invisible when they chose to be. It took only minutes to locate the first signs of their prey: broken vegetation, disturbed soil, heat signatures not yet dissipated. The tracks were bipedal, small compared to Cthar footprints, confirming Forelag's initial assessment. Inferior beings, likely no match for even a single Void Stalker. "Commander," whispered one of his squad, Kirik, the tracking specialist. "The stride pattern is unusual. Even spacing consistent depth. Disciplined movement." Forelag dismissed the observation. Sentient beings often display basic tactical awareness. It means nothing. They continued tracking, moving deeper into the jungle. The traces became more evident. Deliberate trail markers scratched in a tree bark, small broken branches pointing in the direction of travel. To Forelag, it seemed amateurish, almost insulting in its obviousness. After an hour of pursuit, they reached the intruder's vessel. It sat in a small clearing, partially concealed by the surrounding vegetation, but visible to the enhanced vision of the Void Stalkers. The ship was angular, utilitarian, lacking the aesthetic flourishes common in galactic design. It appeared unarmed, with minimal defensive capabilities. Scans confirmed no life signs aboard. "Primitive," scoffed Shakinar, the weapons specialist of the squad. "The hull material wouldn't withstand even a glancing hit from our light cruisers." Forelag approached the vessel, cautiously nonetheless, running his clawed hand along its surface. "Notice the positioning," he instructed his squad. "Concealed from orbital sensors by the canopy, but tactically vulnerable from higher ground. Amateurs." They found more evidence around the ship, discarded nutrient wrappers containing complex proteins and unusual trace elements. A simple multi-tool made of durable but unremarkable alloy, and boot prints leading away from the landing site toward a region known for volatile flora and aggressive nocturnal predators. "They flee blindly into danger," Forelag observed, "either desperate or foolish." The Void Stalkers followed the trail with increasing confidence. These intruders, whatever their purpose, posed no threat to Cthar dominance. The tracks led toward a narrow canyon, a natural bottleneck in the jungle terrain. Forelag immediately recognized the tactical opportunity. "Perfect killing ground," he purred, his mandibles vibrating with anticipation. "Kirik, Shekadar, take positions on the ridge above. Vexthal, Morag, with me at the canyon exit. We will flush them toward you. The squad split, as ordered, moving into position with ruthless efficiency. Fourlag positioned himself behind a massive fallen tree at the canyon's exit, his body perfectly still, his breathing controlled. This was the moment he lived for. The perfect ambush, the expression of evolutionary superiority. The Cthar communicated silently through subtle pheromone releases and small hand gestures, coordinating their attack with practiced precision. As they settled into position, Kirik sent a subtle pheromone signal of confusion. Fourlag glanced up at his position on the ridge. The tracking specialist pointed to his auditory sensor and then gestured around them. Fourlag focused his own enhanced hearing and realized what had caused Kirik's concern. The ambient insect noise had ceased near the canyon entrance. An unnatural silence had fallen. Simultaneously, Vexthal's visor display flickered briefly. The technological specialist dismissed it with a gesture, attributing the malfunction to Tabana gas interference from the nearby gas giant. Fourlag's own suit sensors detected an almost imperceptible rhythmic pulse, a faint, regular vibration through the ground. He considered it momentarily before dismissing it as geological activity. The moon's crust was known to be unstable due to the gas giant's gravitational influence. These anomalies registered as minor inconsistencies, not worthy of aborting the ambush. Fourlag gave the signal to advance, clicking his mandibles twice in rapid succession. The hunt was reaching its climax. That's when everything went wrong. The canyon floor erupted, not with fleeing prey, but with concealed sonic emitters that activated simultaneously, bombarding the Void Stalkers with frequencies calibrated precisely to the Cthar auditory range. The pain was immediate and debilitating, overloading their sensitive hearing apparatus and disrupting their equilibrium. Kirik, positioned on the ridge, reached for his weapon but never completed the motion. A spray of sticky, rapidly hardening foam erupted from a concealed nozzle in the canyon wall, enveloping him completely and hardening within seconds. The immobilizing substance conformed perfectly to Cthar physiology, another impossibility that Fourlag's mind struggled to process through the sonic assault. Vexthal triggered a previously invisible tripwire, releasing a cloud of neuroparalytic gas. The compound, derived from local plants but modified with scientific precision, targeted the unique aspects of Cthar nervous systems. He collapsed immediately, his limbs twitching uselessly. Within seconds, 3 of the 5 elite Void Stalkers were incapacitated or severely compromised before they had even seen their supposed prey. Fourlag roared in pain and confusion, his mandibles spread wide in a primal display of aggression. He activated his visor's combat mode, scanning desperately for targets. The sensors found nothing, until 2 figures simply appeared, as if materializing from the jungle itself. They were smaller than Cthar, bipedal, wearing rugged environmental suits of a non-reflective material that had somehow masked their heat signatures. They moved with a fluid, efficient grace that spoke of extensive combat training. One carried what appeared to be a primitive projectile weapon, a long rifle of some kind. The other wore a complex device on their wrist, manipulating it with practiced ease. Fourlag's combat computer finally identified the rifle, a modified Gauss weapon, using electromagnetic acceleration to fire hypervelocity flechettes. Primitive in concept, but devastating in application, capable of bypassing Cthar armor through sheer kinetic energy. The realization came too late. The rifle barked, the sound oddly muted, and Shakar, the last Void Stalker still in position on the ridge, jerked backward as 3 flechettes punched through his armor at the joint seams, a vulnerability that should have been unknown to outsiders. Fourlag and Morag returned fire immediately, their plasma sidearms illuminating the jungle with brilliant energy discharges. The figures were already moving, displaying impossible coordination. They didn't stand their ground or engage directly. Instead, they fired, immediately repositioned, and fired again, exploiting the momentary Cthar disorientation from the sonic weapons. The Gauss rifle targeted joints and sensor clusters with uncanny accuracy, while the second figure directed small, camouflage drones that seemed to materialize from the surrounding foliage. The drones deployed flashbangs, targeted EMP bursts that disrupted the remaining Cthar suit systems, and deployable microturrets firing explosive charges. Forlag watched in disbelief as one of the figures took a direct hit from Morag's plasma pistol. The energy discharge struck the figure's shoulder, charring the environmental suit. The being stumbled but immediately returned fire with perfect accuracy, sending a flechette through Morag's eye socket. The Void Stalker dropped instantly, dead before he hit the ground. In that moment, Forlag experienced something entirely foreign to his psychology. Not quite fear, but a profound unease that shook his fundamental understanding of the universe. This wasn't a fight between predator and prey. This was an extermination carried out with cold, methodical efficiency. For the first time in his centuries-long career, Commander Forlag, decorated Void Stalker and pride of the Cthar Dominion, gave a retreat order. He grabbed Morag's body. Cthar never abandoned their dead if it could be helped, and charged back the way they had come, leaving the incapacitated squad members behind. The retreat quickly became a nightmare. The mysterious attackers didn't pursue directly, but somehow anticipated every escape route. A massive tree fell across their path, forcing a detour. A sinkhole appeared where solid ground had been moments before, nearly trapping Forlag as he leapt across. Local predators, normally cautious around Cthar, seemed agitated and directed, herding them toward increasingly dangerous terrain. Forlag dropped Morag's body when a venomous arthropoid creature, startled by what appeared to be a small drone, latched onto his remaining squad member's leg. The poison wouldn't kill a Cthar, but it slowed them significantly, a tactical liability Forlag couldn't afford. As they ran, Forlag forced his damaged suit systems to access the Cthar battle archives. He input observed tactics, weapon signatures, and the strange energy readings from his visor's recordings. The search parameters were specific. Encounters involving small, highly effective teams, unconventional warfare strategies, and unexpected resilience against superior Cthar forces. The results were fragmented, often classified or anecdotal, but a pattern emerged. Reports about a species designated human from a system in Sector 2814, originating from a planet called Terra. The information came in disjointed bursts as his suit systems struggled to maintain connectivity. Cthar scientific assessment. Planet Terra, local designation, Earth, classification, high-index death world. Extreme environmental variation from polar ice to burning deserts. Radical seasonal changes. Unpredictable weather patterns, including superstorms. Constant geological instability, earthquakes, volcanic eruptions. High gravity for planetary size. Atmospheric composition toxic to 60% of known sentient species. Extraordinary biodiversity, including numerous apex predators and microscopic pathogens that create constant evolutionary pressure. Cthar Military Encounter Report 2873b. Human resistance on Colony Gerones 3 displayed inexplicable tactical adaptability. Initial superior Cthar force of 300 elite warriors reduced to 17 survivors within planetary cycle. Humans utilized environmental manipulation, psychological warfare, and adapted Cthar technology against us. Recommend immediate withdrawal and planetary sterilization. Classified intelligence brief. Humans demonstrate extreme environmental adaptation capabilities. Documented tolerance for atmosphere pressure variations, gravity fluctuations, temperature extremes beyond standard survivability metrics. Physiological anomalies include rapid clotting mechanisms, redundant organ systems, unconfirmed, and extraordinary adrenaline response allowing combat effectiveness despite critical injuries. Void Stalker Field Report. Human small units display near telepathic coordination. Observed operating effectively in conditions that should negate communication. Working hypothesis. evolved prey species with highly developed nonverbal communication and pack-hunting instincts. Asterisk. Asterisk strategic analysis. Human core philosophy appears to prioritize survival and objective completion above all cultural or biological imperatives. Ruthlessly pragmatic approach to warfare. No concept of honorable combat or ritual confrontation. Will sacrifice individual members without hesitation if tactically advantageous. Warning. Do not engage without overwhelming numerical superiority. Asterisk. The final entry in the database sent a chill through Forlag's exoskeleton. Asterisk High Command Directive. Any confirmed human presence must be reported immediately. Do not engage without explicit authorization. Classification. Deathworlders. Asterisk. Forlag had heard the term before, whispered in warrior lodges, mentioned in ancient texts, but never in official military doctrine. Deathworlders were the stuff of legend, species forged in environments so hostile that every aspect of their evolution was dedicated to one thing: survival at any cost. The horrifying realization hit him all at once. The tracks weren't made by incompetent amateurs. They were deliberately placed bait. The primitive technology was intentional understatement. The environmental hazards weren't random. They were orchestrated. The humans hadn't fled into dangerous territory out of desperation. They had chosen their killing ground with perfect knowledge of the terrain. These weren't just soldiers. They were the distilled essence of survival elevated to an art form, products of a planet designed to kill. Their strength wasn't in physical prowess, but in the relentless, adaptive pressure of their homeworld ingrained in their very being. The Cthar weren't the hunters. They were the prey, studied and manipulated from the moment the humans landed. Forlag's injured squad member collapsed just as they entered a clearing dominated by one of the Cthar atmosphere processors, a massive structure converting Xylos's atmosphere into components useful for the Dominion. Their escape route was suddenly cut off by a shimmering energy field that sprang into existence without warning. The two humans approached from the jungle line, the Gauss rifle leveled, drones hovering menacingly around them. For the first time, Forlag felt true fear, not for himself, but for his entire species. If two humans could decimate an elite Void Stalker squad, what could an army of them accomplish? The lead human stepped forward, and their faceplate retracted. The being appeared to be in its middle years, with calm gray eyes set in hard features. There was no malice in that gaze, only cool assessment. Commander Forlag. The voice emerged, electronically translated but clear. I am Sergeant Eva Rostova, Human Expeditionary Force, Ecological Mandate Division. Forlag's mandibles clicked in surprise. You know who I am? We know everything about you, Rostova replied matter-of-factly. Your service record, combat preferences, tactical doctrines. Your flagship specifications, crew complement, and weapon capabilities. Your psychological profile suggests a 93% probability you would personally investigate an unknown landing rather than delegate the task. You are predictable, Commander. The second human, whose faceplate remained closed, manipulated his wrist device. Holographic displays flickered into existence around the clearing, showing multiple data feeds simultaneously. The first displayed a real-time tactical feed of the main Cthar base. Dozens of hidden positions were highlighted around the perimeter, each containing what appeared to be a human sniper or automated weapon platform. The second showed internal scans of the base itself, revealing micro-drones that had already infiltrated the ventilation and power systems. The third displayed an orbital view where 3 larger human warships had decloaked in high orbit around Xylos, weapons systems powered and targeting the Cthar fleet. We observed your hunting party, Rostova continued dispassionately. We allowed you to track us. Your tactics, armor capabilities, sensory ranges, and command responses have been analyzed and transmitted to our fleet. The Cthar Dominion is now an open book to us. The second human finally spoke, his voice lighter despite the grave situation. We call this reverse safari back home. Most satisfying mission profile in the handbook. His companion shot him a warning glance. and he fell silent. Forlag struggled to comprehend the totality of his failure. "What do you want?" he finally managed to ask. Xylos is protected under the Galactic Conservancy Accords due to its unique ecosystem and the sentient, though non-spacefaring, Xylan species, Rostova explained. "Your invasion triggered an automated alert. Our mission objectives were simple: minimal contact, assessment, and containment or expulsion of the invasive force." She gestured to her companion. "Our two-person team was just the advanced scout commander. Our purpose was to test Cthar response capabilities and gather tactical data." "Two humans," Forlag whispered, the implication crushing his warrior spirit. "Just two. Order your forces to stand down, power down all atmosphere processors, and prepare for immediate withdrawal from Xylos," Rostova commanded. "Transmit the codes now. Refusal or delay will be interpreted as hostile intent, and full containment protocols will be enacted." Forlag stared at the tactical displays, at the calm human faces. He finally understood the fear described in hushed tones by survivors of other encounters. It wasn't fear of superior strength or technology. It was the fear of an enemy that didn't just defeat you, but dissected you, understood you, and rendered your entire species' concept of strength utterly irrelevant. It was the fear of the Deathworlders' cold, survival-driven calculus. With a defeated gesture, Forlag accessed his command interface and transmitted the surrender and withdrawal codes. The Cthar Dominion, conquerors of 1,000 worlds, would retreat before two humans and the promise of more to come. As the energy barrier dissipated, Rostova stepped back. "You have 4 planetary hours to evacuate your forces. Any Cthar remaining after that deadline will be considered hostile and dealt with accordingly. Your wounded have received medical attention sufficient to ensure survival and have been transported to your main base." The second human, Joker, according to his suit designation, added, "We're not monsters, after all, just practical." Forlag gathered his wounded squad member and began the long walk back to the Cthar base, his mind still struggling to process the paradigm shift he had experienced. The galaxy had predators, warriors, empires, species that considered themselves the pinnacle of evolution. But only Terra, it seemed, produced survivors on this scale. Behind him, he heard Joker ask his companion, "Think they'll learn this time?" Rostova's response was pragmatic. "They never do. That's why we're always ready." 3 days later, as the Cthar fleet retreated from the Xylos system under the watchful guns of the human warships, Commander Forlag stood on his bridge, watching the jungle moon recede on the view screen. His executive officer approached cautiously, sensing the commander's dark mood. "The High Command demands an explanation for our withdrawal," Grakthar reported. "They are displeased." Forlag turned to face his subordinate, his expression unreadable. "Tell them we encountered Deathworlders." "Sir," Grakthar's confusion was evident. "That term isn't in the official military lexicon." "It will be," Forlag promised grimly. "It will be." He turned back to the view screen, watching as the stars elongated into streaks of light with their jump to hyperspace. The Cthar Dominion would rebuild, would adapt, would learn from this humiliation. But Forlag would never forget the lesson he had learned on Xylos. When Deathworlders arrived, bringing the harsh lessons of their lethal homeworld with them, even the most veteran killers knew only one sane response: run.